Our group looked to focus a little bit on a few different strategic elements of what we've talked about, trying to embrace as much as what we read and saw and heard throughout the whole week to focus on the spheres of influence as we talked about this morning, and defining whether we really, really need to know what the rest of the world is doing, or if that's an excuse for not getting to how we can offer the input, the control, and the influence in the marketplace in the future. We felt as though it was important to just quickly touch on who we are, because it is a very baseline, important element of how to get to the future. We're a company with deep roots. We're a student of how people work and live. We're a place where people matter. And we're a believer in design. So what are the pieces that help us in this puzzle? Field sales role, technology, the dealers, and Herman Miller Corporate. And we need to simplify, focus, grow, and differentiate as we talked about in each one of those areas. So if we look at field sales in the future, it's been said a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. But as long as we're here, why not try for perfect? So we've got a plan. There's no way to get to the future if we don't plan, which is what this is about this week and in the future. The second step is creating a team. We broke team down to training, engaging, achieving, and ultimately mattering. So what's the future of field sales? What is our future role? We need to figure out a way to interact with the customer more so we have more face time and less laptop time. We need to focus on new business development, less specialization and more generalization with added resources. And an explanation of that is this. A good analogy is how many of us are driving down the road in our government-minded focus or our A&D focus or our healthcare focus, and as Ty Maynor says, driven by more opportunities in a day than we've picked up on. We should all be responsive to the opportunity, not the marketplace vertical segment. We should all be cross-trained and cross-competent in every aspect of what we do. I heard Michael talking at lunch about one of the elements is with the government's team in compliance. Well, if compliance is the major issue, why not have a compliance coordinator, a compliance resource in the field, and let the government ADM do more on-the-ground selling? Let compliance be a support tool or a resource tool. We need to improve our capabilities in the future. We need to simplify our technology. Everybody's talked about how many different things you have to do to go through an average day at Herman Miller with your technology. We've talked about our CRM. Why not make it even simpler than what we've talked about before? Take our iSpot, if you will, or our iSpot of the future, and base it around a model that reflects what the blue sheet's asking for. So that all you have to do is import from your CRM tool to create a blue sheet. It's the same information. Contracts and pricing signals need to be simpler. Sales reporting needs to be simpler. We need to create what we're calling Herman Miller Genius. For those of you who aren't familiar with what that means, iPod's done a phenomenal tool right now with their iPod. If you log on to a song right now and say, click Genius, it's going to create a playlist that matches what that song does. They do the same thing with their iPod University. Now they're offering downloadable curriculums, downloadable field notes to the student customer base at university. So the technology is already there. We should be able to do much like what RFP Express offers to us, but have that be a broad-based application tool in every element of what we do. I believe Dan mentioned if you go in and say, I've got a 1,000 workstation hospital project that employee retention is, key that into the field and let it match up with what you need to have. Herman Miller Genius. We need to add more resources. Everybody gets the good stuff. Not just the GAMs. Everybody has what everybody needs. It's not a matter of figuring out why we can't get it to them, it's to figure out how we can get it. Everybody in this room has probably seen Marlene's playbook. Broaden or organize that playbook. Even get field input into that playbook so we have successful installations out in the field. We can offer that into and add it to that. The computer generation and renderings are great, but sometimes they're not practical because they show things we're not really quite ready to do. show reality. Have downloadable programs, as we mentioned before, as part of the Herman Miller Genius program. Have enhanced graphics and rendering capabilities in the local marketplaces. This is an important sales tool that we all need to promote our message. The future of the dealers. We need to have consistency in what our dealers present. Their training, their education, their reporting, business planning, and their engagement with our customers. We should be establishing the template for how our dealers engage with our top customers, not allowing them to go out and potentially screw it up. We should make the reporting and business planning tools that they're engaging in directly interactive with ours, and getting that on a regular basis. So we don't get pushback when we're asking for forecasting. We don't get pushback when we're asking for win-loss information. It should be a requirement. And each of the dealer salespeople should be required to go through a certain amount of training and education based on the standards we are establishing, not the standards they're establishing. We need to have a consistency in branding image. If you go into an iPod store right now, every iPod store looks the same. They are told how to lay it out. Why should we have the same amount of influence in what our dealers do in their marketplaces? Why should someone not walk into a Herman Miller dealer operation and say, this is a Herman Miller showroom? I believe somebody mentioned when they walk in one of the showrooms, the first thing you see is not anything to do with Herman Miller. It's a competitive product or another vertical product from one of our other manufacturers that the dealers represent. There should be specific engagement guidelines. The car dealership industry, although it's not a good one to reflect upon right now because of the economic troubles, but they adhere to a very strict branding guideline. So why shouldn't we? In Herman Miller Corporate, we need a simple, congruent message. Field, sales, and distribution need to all be considering themselves role players on a winning team, not superstars with separate agendas. When we call options or we call product specialists, it shouldn't be, well, it's going to cost you 10 times the normal amount and expand your lead time by 6 weeks. It should be, what do we need to do to make this job work? What do we need to do to satisfy the need of this project? What do we need to win? Again, simple, congruent message. Revise the organizational structure. Centralize reporting for all field sales in a respective region. How many successful teams do you see out there where you have confusion at the quarterback role? Or confusion at the coach role? Teams typically don't perform well when that quarterback or coach is not clearly related to every aspect of that field. Add support. We've heard about assistance, and we've heard about this, and we've heard about that. It's quite clear that there are elements of our resources that do not allow us to get in front of the customer because we're chasing a warranty issue or we're chasing a non-related sales face-to-face issue that could be handled by someone that's doing nothing more than checking compliance, checking contracts, checking those types of issues. And we need to add definition, not only to our role, but to what Herman Miller expects of us, to what Herman Miller wants us to do to succeed, to what Herman Miller wants us to do to allow ourselves to expand our professional opportunities, to offer more to the company so the company can offer more to us. We need to simplify the variables. Resource, they need to be more easily accessible. Everybody's talked about kiosks. Kiosk is a fantastic tool. It's just cumbersome. It's clunky. It's somewhat outdated. Access to rewards. A win's a win. Doesn't matter whether it's an existing customer, it doesn't matter whether it's a new business opportunity, does it really matter? At the end of the day, a win's a win. And so compensation should be the reward, not a restriction. It should not be a time occupier, a time waster. It should be something that's a natural byproduct of the job that we're doing by getting in front of the customer and winning projects. So the future's now. We can't let the rest of the world get in our way because we can push them out of the way if we have to. And to borrow a very important message from this week, yes, we can. And we can because we're Herman Miller.